Good people, Kai Storm in the building.
Damn, Rude, try not to be so fine next time, girl. Just turn it down a little bit. Bitch.
Turn up.
In the motherfucking building. Yes.
That, I know you all have this podcast, the Marijuana, Sex, and Motherhood, Sex, and Marijuana. I hope that you all are experiencing the most out of your sexual life as you can. Don't wait for somebody special. If you gotta fuck now, just fuck. Get that nut. It makes you happier. You don't need love to have great sex. You just need to love yourself.
Talks about the judgment of
You're
me.
damn right my hard-working ass is gonna buy another eighth.
You damn right. I need to smoke in order not to kill your ass.
For real.
You know what I'm saying? Plus my pum pum gets extra wet when I'm high.
Yes!
Exclusive.
Let's get it. I need it.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Who is you? For make me believe otherwise. You couldn't stop what God create. A greatness running on my blood. Hello?
Cool. Yes, indeed. Kai Storm in the building. Motherhood, Sex, Marijuana in the building. Yes. And yes. Yes, indeed. Let me make sure I get this shit clear. Motherhood, Sex, Marijuana in the motherfucking building. Yes. We are here again in EENY. Yes, doing another episode. Hello, Queen.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
All right, how are you doing?
I'm good. What's going on? You know what? Actually, I don't feel that great. I got me a little head bug or something like that. I have no idea what is going on. Are we already recording?
Yeah, we are recording.
Well, that's what's going on with me, world.
Well, you know what? Especially because of that, I'm going to go ahead and give you a special thanks for being here. I damn sure will not keep you too long. You know what I mean? Because after all, you know what I'm saying, I definitely want this to be a great experience for you, and I definitely want it to be a great experience for our viewing audience. So yes, let's get the show started. Motherhood, Sex, Marijuana in the motherfucking building. And tonight we have a special guest, Miss. She is from what I see on Instagram, she is a holistic nurse. She is definitely pro plant and definitely does her best to drop all types of knowledge on the plant and what's going on with the plant. So I personally have been watching her on Instagram for a while now. And I do remember you sent something to me about joining a panel. And I don't know, maybe the clouds clouded and I just forgot and didn't respond to you. And then by the time I went back, I was like, oh, damn. Look at how you miss opportunity. Look, because you wasn't paying attention. So I am so glad that you answered my DM and actually accepted this invite. So yes, welcome to Motherhood, Sex, Marijuana. Usually it's two people here. It's me and Ruby, but Ruby is having some family issues that she currently has to deal with. So here I am holding down the fort as usual.
Yes.
So yes, thank you for being here and now I'll be quiet. Let you give yourself let you give a full introduction of you and what you do so we can get the show started. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And you know what? Here's the thing. I started off kind of all gloomy. I just need to get it out. But we gonna have a good time. Like I'm not gonna do nothing and not have a good time. That's the first thing.
Facts.
And then, you know what? So it was funny because you caught me right in between my move. I moved from Maryland to South Carolina over the summer.
Ooh, okay.
And then had the nerve to go to Africa right after that. Okay.
Shit, it sounds like you got well traveled. That's what it sounds like. It sounds
Yes.
like you had a good summer. It sounds like you definitely are living that best life. So yes, nah, I think that those some great moves right there. I think
Yes,
if you were able to pull all that off and still look as good as you look, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's
thank
do
you.
it.
I mean, golly, just barely making it for sure. But you know, I definitely am taking time for rest at the moment. But let me back up. My name
Mhm.
is Ashley Wynn-Grimes, for anybody who doesn't know. Now, I'm normally more responsive to my DMs. That's one place where like I can't, like I don't know how people be delegating that task off. I love hanging out on Instagram with the Instagram girlies. Like y'all be keeping me together on Instagram, okay?
Nice.
And so like I'm always like kind of ciphering around and like chatting with people and things along those lines. And so I was like, oh wait, like she sent me this when, like how did I not see that? You
The
know?
clouds cloud. That's
The
what I'm
clouds,
saying.
yes, yes,
The
ma'am.
clouds get cloudy. And you
Yeah.
know, when you in the cloud, you like, wait a minute. What I was supposed to do? What?
Mm-hmm.
Over there? Oh
Mm-hmm.
shit, I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep. And this is
Uh,
and that's exactly what's happening. So, girl, I had just put out an APB on a ring light because I had threw my old one away. Right.
mm,
I started brand new in my new house and everything. So I got rid of a lot of stuff. And
mm,
so when I did see it, I was on the hunt for my little ring light. I said, you know what, Ash, like I think I want to get back into doing like podcast guesting again. Like that sounds like something I want to do. And
mm.
then next thing I know, I'm looking at this and I was like, wow, you know?
Like I always say, things happen for a reason. Like, you know what I mean? It's divine alignment. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen before it's ready to happen.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yeah,
Yes.
and here I was, and here's the opportunity. Yes, definitely. But yes, let's go into what you do and what you represent in the canner world.
Yeah, so I have been a nurse for this is my 17th year. I'm going on 18 years as a nurse. Yes, thank you. And so a big chunk of my time as a nurse was spent like doing regular like bedside things like you would traditionally see a nurse do. And then
Hmm.
I ended up in corporate. I was working for this 14 hospital system in Maryland that you know I just didn't really align with. I ended up burnt out. Like you know I was dealing with a lot of $15,000 was stolen out of my bank account during that time. Yeah, it
Oh,
was crazy. And then while at the same time trying to make them $1 million, it was crazy. I was like, this doesn't even make any sense. So, needless to say, that didn't work out. And I talk a lot more in detail in my book about it, but you know, and then eventually I kind of turned to cannabis or really holistic healing. So yoga was like my first holistic experience. And then cannabis, man, like I was like, oh, you do all that? You do
yeah,
okay. And so, you know, for me as a nurse and a healthcare provider, I was like, why don't I know this? Like, why is
right,
nobody
right.
teaching me this? Like, and then y'all got the nerve to be telling me how crazy I am, telling me I got a problem. Y'all tripping. Y'all tripping, okay? Y'all want to
Exactly.
diagnose me. Y'all want to tell me why I'm not a good fit for this position. You want to demote me. Like, you want to do all these things like it's something that I got going on. Well, no. It is all of this healthcare system. Y'all the
Hmm.
problem. Y'all the
Facts.
problem.
Facts. You know what I mean? And see, that's the thing that I feel like it's slowly, generating, a buzz. The more we talk about it, the more it's in our faces. I mean, it's always been in our faces. The plant has always been a part of our lives, you know what I mean? But the fact is that now that it's reached certain level of legality and definitely more accepted amongst other things, the conversation about how it is a medicine is being more talked about. It's being more accepted. Yes, there's still a long way to go, but it's definitely still a conversation. Now, how were you introduced to the plant? That I definitely want to go into, since, because I mean, as a nurse, I would assume that, you know, one of the things that they teach in, you know, school is, oh yeah, those things, this and that, those are drugs. We call them drugs, so they are drugs, and therefore you should not touch them. Yes, you should stay away from them. So how is it that you were not aware of? I'm assuming that maybe you were aware of cannabis but didn't know what cannabis does. But let me let you answer the question. Go.
You a true girl. Oh, yeah. So, you know, first of all, yeah, they don't teach you any of that in nursing school. You know, that's a illegal substance. I mean, but they don't really even teach you about any herbal remedies as a healthcare provider at all. In fact, they tell you to stay away from those things. The only things that I do remember from nursing school specifically being brought up is like cupping and Chinese medicine. And the only reason why they would tell us that is because we would see these bruises on their back and when we do our assessment, and they didn't want us to assume that they're being abused, right?
Right.
But if you brought up something like ginkgo biloba or ginseng or, you know, any other like herbal product, everybody just kind of like, oh no, you can't take nothing under the sun. You can't take any other pharmaceuticals because you're taking these herbs. We want you to stop taking these herbs and we want you to be
Right.
the pharmaceuticals, right? And so that's generally the approach that is taken when it comes to plant medicine. Obviously, I mean, I have not met a person in my experience, especially talking about this topic as often as I do, and that does not either one, consume it themselves on the low, okay? Two, know somebody that do consume it, whether they on the low or they not, or
Exactly.
three, they consume it and they open with it. And then we have a real good conversation at that point, right? And so, like, you know, the conversation about whether or not we've heard of it, whether or not you've been exposed to it, like, and race has nothing to do with this conversation. You understand what I'm saying? Social economic class doesn't have anything to do with this conversation. People just really like cannabis for a
Big time.
plethora of reasons,
Big
right?
time.
And so most of the time it's being misused, you know, due to like just misinformation. So like my favorite conversations are the ones who take a gummy that one time at band camp and they ended up under the table and couldn't hear nothing in their ears. But they can taste something crazy. You be like, what? That happened for real? And they be like, yeah, I was walking upside down on earth, you know, them kind of stories. And they crack me up, not because, I mean, because obviously they're telling me because it was unpleasant for them, but you know, at the end of the day, y'all took too much. Y'all took too much and you ain't used to it. Like
See, that's the thing that I remember, like, this is sort of off topic, but I recently went to a cannabis festival, and one of the girlies I was talking to literally said, I don't trust anyone who doesn't have a bad edible story. And I was just like, girl, you are correct, because baby, I specifically remember myself. No. If I go back in the inventory, if I flip through the cards,
yes, go ahead, girl.
I find that I had at one point had gotten some little munchkin muffins. I mean, they were little tiny little muffins, child. And when I tell you they was good as a mug. When I said, hey, I ate one and was like, damn, this is nice. I didn't even taste the weed in it. So I said, what? How many in that bag? 9?
You ate all 9 of them, didn't you? All 9
All
of them.
9 of them, and smoked, because hello, I'm a chimney. So in my head, I wasn't eating weed. I was having a snack. I was snacking. It was a snack. So I smoked after my snack, like normal. What I do, I smoke after the snack. And then the next day, the alarm rang 20 times, 50 times, 80 times. I didn't wake up. When I woke up, it was afternoon, and I was like, oh, Jesus. I was supposed to go somewhere today. Lord God, I missed it. Lord God. Yeah. And then it's like, who do you blame? Like, and then you look at the phone, because you know what I'm saying, and the alarm is saying, yeah, we rang like 20,000 times, player. We was ringing. You was sleeping, we was ringing. You know what I'm saying?
It
So
happens to the best
have
of us.
had one of those stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it happens to the best of us for sure.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, they make these things so scrumptious. I mean, that's the struggle I have with edibles. They're so scrumptious, especially, like you have muffins when they put them in the little
Mhm.
brownies and like the cookies and things. Like you just be like, oh, that tastes so yummy. And then they've mastered the craft of blocking the cannabis taste. So like you don't even know.
Because I'm not the kind of person that has a problem with if it tastes like weed. That literally is like, oh, okay, cool. But if it doesn't taste like
Yeah,
weed,
that's the problem.
it literally will make me forget 2 seconds after I taste it, and it's what? What you mean? I could only have a half a cookie? Why? That's a good cookie. What you
Yeah,
talking
it
about?
tastes good,
I'm gonna
right?
eat the rest of that cookie. Matter of fact, you giving me a pack of these? Yeah, I'm gonna eat all 4 of these cookies, and then I'm gonna have to smoke, because again, in my head, I just had a snack. That I
Yeah,
snacked. That
yeah,
wasn't. That was not cannabis. I snacked.
right,
Hello.
right.
But yeah, definitely, but definitely. So, yeah, as you walk through, yeah, because I didn't even let you actually let you finish telling me how you even got into cannabis. We just started talking about the edibles, and child, that's how conversations go out on motherhood,
Yes,
sex, marijuana. Our viewers are used to it. It's all good.
real conversations go like that though, right? Like not every
Mhm.
conversation is linear. So, like if I'm in a conversation that's linear, I'm probably not talking to my people. But anyway, anyway,
And you're probably not even entertained by the conversation. There you
right?
go. Because I
That
gotta
part.
entertainment. I need to be engaged. Hello, that's the only way. Oh, because if not, then we gotta find a way out of this.
Right.
But yes, girl, go ahead and tell us
Um,
how did we get introduced to the cannabis?
So I had my own, so when I was young, I was more of a drinker. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've actually now stopped drinking altogether. But when I was
Child, me
young,
too.
yeah, when I was young, I loved to go to the clubs. I loved to drink. Like I was hanging out. I had a good time. My 20s definitely
Mm,
was for having a good time. And it did include cannabis here and there, but like nothing too significant where I was like, wow, let's do that again.
right.
Like I was good, right? We had a good time. We turned up and let's move on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so it wasn't actually until my around the incident. So this was in my early 30s where I really began, and again, dibble and dabble off and on. Really, like my husband is a cannabis consumer. He uses it medicinally. So, it's just always has been around, but not necessarily my preferential, substance of choice. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? But it wasn't until that era where I'm burnt out. People are telling me I got this wrong with me and that wrong with me, where I was like, you know what? Like, let's explore this. Let's learn more about it first. Because why
Mm,
in my mind do I feel fearful about this thing that people are talking about, right? We had just went legal in 2019, 2018, in Maryland, and or I'm sorry, medical around that time. So I was
mhm.
like, you know what? Like I'm gonna learn more about this so that way I can help myself and that way I can help other people because you're calling it medical cannabis, right? So why would
Right.
you want to have a nurse involved? Like it just it
Exactly.
just it just didn't make sense. So we had to kind of go down this rabbit hole. And let me tell you something, like the difference between me in 2019 and the difference between me now is like night and day. And, and
Word.
and I don't even just attribute that. I mean, cannabis is a big part of it. It has been a huge part of my life. I have dedicated a lot of time, effort, and energy in supporting patients and clients with this
Mhm.
plant and how they can incorporate it into their business. I have helped patients incorporate cannabis into their own regimen. I have taught courses. I have community around the concept of how we engage in our perspectives around cannabis and or plant medicine. medicine. And this includes psilocybin too. You know what I mean? Like, and our relationship with some of these substances, because, you know, half the time people say that they're like medicinally helping people, but when in all actuality, they're only just promoting it without any consideration of the risk or the harm and all those other kind of things. So I went through a whole era. My book is called Stigmatized, where like literally my role in is to confront all of the stigmas, whether you're pro cannabis, not for cannabis, if you had good experiences, bad experiences, how can we find balance? Because that's what this plant teaches us, right? Like,
Word.
how do we balance our endocannabinoid system, but how do we balance our relationship with this plant? Because we've spent hundreds of years being under prohibition. So just because y'all legalize this plant don't mean we know what to do with this plant. The only thing we know that we can do with this plant is make money.
Mm-hmm. But let's be honest though.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about first of all, big pharma is one thing. But
Mm-hmm.
if we're talking about just the people in the cannabis industry, what is your take on like the big boys in the business versus mom and pops? Because my take, or at least Motherhood Sex Marijuana's take on it, is that that's all their only interest is money.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason why it was even thought to even be legalized was because of money. Because at the end of the day, yes, they are very much aware that the potheads are here. The
Yes, ma'am.
potheads are buying weed regardless. No, excuse you. Even when people see people get, man, listen, I could tell you a story about how I went to where it was like, I think when it was about 2005, 2006, I went to the homie's house. His door was off the hinges because he just got raided by whoever the fuck. And I literally looked at him and was like, so you still got weed or? And your man was like, yeah, but look at my door. I was like, yeah, I see your door. That means I need to buy my weed and go. So
Right, right.
hand me my shit.
Right,
Let
and
me
let's
go about my business.
right.
Because again, weed is still getting purchased, regardless of whatever. Weed is still getting purchased, and the government and big boys are literally that's all they saw is money. At least that's our take. What's your take on it?
I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's fine, right? Like it's
Mhm.
that we live in a capitalistic society, right?
Yeah,
Everything is
yeah.
commodified and transactional. You know, it doesn't matter what you're doing or how you're doing it, right? Like that's just the
Mhm.
reality of the life. We hate it, we get annoyed by it. Some of us get taken advantage by it. Like, I mean, it's just where we are and it's just where we live at. And so my personal opinion about it is okay, that's fine. It
Mhm.
makes money. It should, right? But
Mhm.
there are pieces to this equation that of you making money that isn't just one line. So even like just like our dialogue ain't going in a straight line, like real organic dialogue does not go in a straight line. Neither
Mhm.
should the transactional process of cannabis. You understand what I'm saying? So the
Yeah.
idea that you're gonna like make the same exact strain, you know, every single time you cultivate it, right? Like this idea that that is organic or that's natural or what this plant was designed to do is a fallacy to some degree. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like, because now it's losing its variety, its potency, its effectiveness. People don't even respond well off the same strain every single time. If you gave somebody
Right.
the same strain for 10 years, they would look like 10 years down the line, they'd be like, oh, it's just a cigarette. Like
Mm.
that's literally like it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Right?
Mm.
Like we're asking people to cycle through their cannabinoids to get different profiles, to pay attention to their terpenes, to know what cannabinoids they need for what type of chronic illness and things along those lines. And slowly but surely, especially in these legal states, all of that is being phased out. It's hard to find a product in a Maryland dispensary that has CBG in it or CBN, like a full, robust cannabinoid profile. You know what I mean? In
Mm.
fact, most of the time, and especially if you're looking for CBD grade products that are full spectrum, right? Like you sitting there and you got some sort of gut condition and you wondering why this ain't working for you, is because it ain't got what you need.
Right, right. But at the same time, it's also it's also about the education too, because as it's becoming legal, the education is not being passed. At least I feel it's not being passed down. You know what I mean? Because like for New York, like I don't know how it was in Maryland for you. You can let me know how it was in Maryland, but for New York, when it became legal, it was just okay, free for all, because hello, the boys is out in the street and the boys is like, what? Oh, so 50 ain't gonna stop us or do nothing? Cool. We setting up a table, we getting a little square thing to tap people credit cards. What? Stop playing, fam. You ain't got cash, we gotta tap. You can tap your card and get your ganja. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like that, and it's just like, whether you talk to, well, I ain't gonna say whether you talk to, because of course the boys, they just like, yo, we got that za. That's it. We got that za. But you know, when you go into the dispensaries, yeah, you might find a person here and there that might know this, that, and the other. But at the same time, you also saying to yourself, the price of this weed is kind of high. Crazy. And then you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, because it might have a celebrity name on it, it might be a little higher based on that. And then am I supposed to trust that the celebrity weed is all good? And then I buy celebrity weed, get it home, smoke it, this shit is corny. And then I decide to go online and talk about this shit. And then you got a whole bunch of motherfuckers talking shit like, oh, you just mad, you a hater. No, fucker, I spent $80 for this eighth and this shit was garbage. It was garbage. So you know what I mean? So it's like, how did it go in Maryland? Was there an education level added when it became legal?
Let me tell y'all something. New York, I was in New York a few times during like the early years of y'all legalization, and y'all was wilding. Y'all had stuff everywhere. Like I was like, dude, like
man, listen, I'm telling you. So I'm glad that you can testify to that, because then and first of all, anybody that is following our social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel has seen me do videos of how, and especially when Ruby was in New York, yo, they had trucks outside. You know what I mean? Like I said, the boys would set up a table in front of anything. And I say anything? And what? You walk up to the boy and tell the boy, nah, fam, I ain't got no cash. What? Cash at me, fam. Cash at me, or tap on this thing. I bought this thing so you could tap your card, player. What? Stop playing. They was out there prepared. And now, I mean, yes, it's a little, OCM has come in and, brushed a couple of stops and closed a couple of stops and this and that and the other. But guess what? The boys they are diligent. They are vigilant about getting that money. So what do? They find someplace else. They set up someplace else. And again, because New York City is a cash rules everything around me type of place, you might find a landlord or two that all he gonna do is say, word, you got cash? Yeah. Stop playing with me. I don't give a fuck what happens. You got cash? Yeah. Go ahead and pay this rent deposit real quick. Pay first month, last month, and deposit. Be straight. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you sell. What? That's crazy. So, that's crazy. New York still get down. And then of course, OCM is still one of the main things that they talk about is we're making, billions and billions in the cannabis industry, but black market is still beating us. Yes. Mm-hmm. Why is black market beating you? Because again, you go to these dispensaries, the price of the weed has, yes, it's supporting the farmer, but it's also supporting the rent of the store, the phone bill, the gas bill, the light bill. is putting a little extra money in the celebrity pocket if it's celebrity weed, and it definitely is putting money in OCM taxes. So all of that is involved in the dispensary versus you go to the plug. The plug gonna say, "Look here, I got a couple of apes for $25.
Yeah.
Take that and go on about your business. I see you tomorrow." You know what I
Right.
mean?
Good day.
Hell
Right.
yeah.
Right. Good day. Good day. Just move on along, and and that's some of the. I honestly I miss that time. Where like, so we did okay. As far as that's concerned, as far as like our legacy market, I do have
Mhm.
like they are our original educators, right? Like they know what's up. They have been around this plant. It is a generational thing that has been passed down from generation to generation. It's the way that people were able to feed their families, right?
Exactly.
Like a lot of times people from the legacy market are demonized, and then the worst thing that happens to them is that they get their information stolen from them too, under the guise and premise that maybe they'd be able to help build this grow or like whatever.
Mm,
So that part I do feel really saddened by the commodification of the plant, because it does take away from a lot of people in Black and brown communities especially. And we don't know where we're getting our plants from, so that celebrity weed
basically.
that's dry and brittle and falling all apart with all the seeds in it, you know what I
Mm,
mean? Like it's not even good quality product, and they're moving it from, God knows where, how long it's been stored. We don't know whose hands have touched it,
facts.
those kind of things. And I'm a Reiki practitioner. I'm a Reiki master, and I believe that anything that is touched by the hands of any human involved in the transaction process, that plant absorbs it too. And so we're also
Mhm.
taking all of that in. Now, I am going to say there is a privilege in being able to access your legacy market regularly, or, like you have to find a person, right?
Right.
And the person needs to know where, what they got. And hopefully they're treating their plants properly, right? Like, and
Exactly.
right, like, and hopefully they didn't use any pesticides and the nutrients are good quality. Like, hopefully they did all those things, but we're also saying hopefully to the dispensary too, right? And so
Definitely.
and this is kind of where the conundrum comes in as far as I'm concerned. And so I talk more with people about like the risk versus the benefit, right? If you can
Hmm.
find yourself a good quality person who's going to grow you some good plants and take care, make sure you are, be consistent with it, all of those kind of things, good. Do your thing, right? But if you are going to go to the dispensary, we also have to do our due diligence. What's the
Mm.
COA on that plant? Where has it been sourced from? What are y'all protocols for even storing it? Right? Like there was a big conversation when we first went, I think it was during the medical times, but around whether we want to do it pre-packaged or deli style. Well, why wouldn't I want to see what it is that I'm buying? Why
Hello.
Right? Like, why wouldn't I want to put my eyes on the product? Y'all just gonna and they ended up going with prepackaged products. All of our products in our dispensaries are prepackaged. And so, sometimes you get something decent and then sometimes you don't. And you don't know
Mm.
till you get home, and they ain't got no like return policy. Well, it ain't
Right.
like Walmart out here. Like, we'll take it back whether you opened it or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
It ain't nobody doing that. And so, like, for those reasons, I think there is also risk, and in addition to that, the additional fees. So, I mean, we're talking taxes. Like, first of all,
Mm.
plants are abundant, right? Like,
Yes.
you could drop a seed on the ground and have a cannabis growing today and not do nothing. All you need is a little bit of sun and some water, and you'd have,
Right.
and you get at least one bud, right? Like it
Exactly.
doesn't it doesn't take but so much to make this thing happen. And so because it's been in prohibition for so long, like now y'all making it seem like it's not enough.
Mm.
No, it's plenty. One seed yields a lot of plants, a lot of buds, a lot of medicine, pounds of it.
Definitely.
right? And
Definitely.
so like this idea that like we're gonna run out of it, or like y'all can mark up the price, and that $80 for, you know, however much y'all charge it, is it makes sense. It doesn't actually.
It absolutely doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And at the same time, like for you to be, mad at on the level of OCM to be, upset with what's going on in black market, or anyone that represents, legacy market versus black market. It's like you got to understand that we all struggling financially. So, but at the same time, we all want to get high. You know what I'm saying? So the whole idea of jacking up the price, and then there's not enough knowledge, and then the whole pre-packaging thing, that to me is crazy. Yes, a lot of the dispensaries definitely do some sort of display and whatnot. You know what I mean? You get to see a lot more in the black market than in the dispensaries here, but fuck that whole just pre-packaged, and I can't even look at it. Well, and some of them, they have the rule where if you can't open it in the store, you gotta pay for it and then leave, and then open it when you go outside. It's like, nah, it's like you really making me take a risk and shit, and at the same time, so it's like I'm gonna fuck with the plug, because the plug, as soon as I go with the plug opens the bag. He lets
Let
you
you
smell
smell
that
it.
shit. You
Yeah.
take a butt, shit. Fuck around. You get comfortable with that motherfucker. That motherfucker hand you a butt for free. Like, here you go. Make
Right.
sure to see me next time. Hello. That's what I call good customer service, sir. Good
Agreed.
customer
Agreed.
motherfucking service. Yes.
I
You know what I
agree.
mean? And
Agreed.
you know what I mean? And then again, it's like a lot of these states, that because they're just coming into the legacy market, a lot of them are not, I would say they don't know how to handle it right correctly. Because when I lived in Seattle, that first and foremost, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little history about me and Ruby. Me and Ruby met when I lived in Seattle. I lived there for about 7 years. I definitely discovered that I'm a New Yorker and need to stay in New York. I can't be doing the easy breezy country life that goes on the West Coast, because especially especially Seattle West Coast, they ooh, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. But everything happens for a reason. I needed to be there in order to meet Ruby and shit. So being in Seattle, one thing I learned in those 7 years is that, baby, they are handling cannabis correctly. Like, you go in the store, it's prepackaged, but you can see clearly through the packaging. The packaging has very clear windows. When you look in the back, there's an explanation as to where the motherfucking weed was born, when it was packaged, who packaged it, what's the address to the motherfucker that packaged it. All that shit, the lot number, all that shit is in the back, and shit, because it's an actual store. Look here, I bought this and this was fuckery. Can I just word here? Take this back. Yeah, I want something else. What? Yeah, that's some fuckery you sold me. I got it home and it was all dry and shit. Nah, take that shit back. Yeah, let me get that. Yeah, switch it for that. And you know what I mean? It's dealt like a fucking shirt. Like, I come to a store, I buy a shirt. I don't like the shirt. The shirt got a hole in it. I ain't realized till I got home. Here, take the shirt back. Give me another shirt. You know what I mean? Like, and that to me is not, that level is not being passed down along with the legalities of weed. First of all, a lot of these states, tax wise, oh my God, I've heard some ridiculous numbers for that they charge for as far as taxes. It's crazy. You literally trying to rape people. And so of course them people ain't fucking with dispensaries. They going to the plug, because who paying $50 and $60 in taxes? Fuck you. I ain't doing that. So that shit needs to be rolled out more. You know what I mean? And I feel like at some point we're gonna have to get to that in order for weed to be consumed in the best way possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How now, and also educational wise, because I saw that you mentioned that you teach classes and whatnot. I feel like the educational departments, they're slowly graduating, slowly integrating cannabis education into it, but it's still a slow walk. You know what I mean? And then at the same time, it also makes me want to ask, like, what type of education are you passing? Are you just going through some book or whatever, or are you one of the people that are experienced and definitely you know pushing off the knowledge as it should from someone that experienced the plant? So when you were teaching your classes, like, what were the classes on, and how, like, in what entity were you teaching them at? Were you at an actual school, or was it something independent you did?
Yeah, no, it was independent. So when I started teaching around the pandemic era where everything
Mhm.
went online,
Okay.
so before that I was doing them in person, but I was teaching healthcare providers about how to apply cannabis into their practice. So,
Nice.
we talk about like dosing considerations. We talk about cannabinoid and terpene profiles and how to apply
Mm,
them. We talk about just the endocannabinoid system and
yeah.
it being the largest neuroreceptor system in the body. And we also talked about like side effects, in relation to other body systems,
Mm,
like maybe your serotonin receptors, right? Or maybe like the impact on your liver or like considerations around your lung health, right? And
mm,
so like and then being able to help people kind of figure out, okay, you've been smoking for X amount of time, you're having X, Y, and Z problem. Okay, maybe you should consider increasing the dose. Maybe you need a long acting and a short acting. Maybe you need to decrease your inhalation and maybe switch from smoking your joints or and then maybe switching over to maybe a drive or vape, like being able to
mhm,
coach people through the process of building better relationship with the plant so it's more helpful to them, as opposed to a lot of people find themselves in situations where they're over consuming and they're not getting
mhm.
the results that they want. And so
Right.
like I heard that cannabis can help with my pain. Well, your tolerance is too high, and so you're not hitting your tolerance mark basically, and so it's not gonna work for you, right?
Mhm,
And the other problem when it comes to cannabis consumption is flipping our mindset, because as soon as you go into a hospital or and talk to a doctor about it, you got any kind of problem with you. Oh, you threw up yesterday. Nobody checking to see if you're pregnant. Nobody gonna see
right.
nothing else wrong with you. They gonna be like, oh, you
Right.
smoke weed. Well, you need to stop that because you got this problem and that. Like, no, like y'all had these crazy ass stigma thoughts in your head where you think that if so and so show up this way that means this just because they're consuming cannabis. First of all, you
Mm,
don't know when the last time they consumed it. You saw a tox screen and it's showing up on their tox screen, but are they intoxicated today?
right.
Right? Like, and so being able to help shift the conversation on how healthcare providers engage with patients is a big part of what I do.
Mm,
And shifting the stigma around it. So stigma can come from multiple perspectives, right? Like, so as a healthcare provider, when I'm dealing with patient population, that's one thing, but when I'm dealing with it for my own personal use, right, that's a
right.
different conversation. Or
Yeah.
like when it comes to like even how we socialize with each other, right? Like it's totally acceptable to have a drink or a cocktail or wine, but the second that I say I choose not to consume alcohol, I'm gonna choose this other product here to relax, unwind, whatever. Now y'all got a problem with it. Or like everybody
Mhm.
like, oh, it stink. Well, have you really taken the time to really smell it? Right? Like there are whole bars, tobacco cigar bars across the country, and they do all that smelling and everybody think that's totally acceptable. But as soon as you bring up cannabis, you're like, "Oh, it's so stinky." Well, that pungent smell is a result of the terpenes and the flavonoids in that plant. So, like to me,
Mhm.
that's a beautiful thing,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Like
Versus tobacco versus the smell of alcohol, because let's be honest, sir, I mean, even the sweetest of drinks have, a little tangy smell that, you know what I mean, that definitely comes off real bad if you eat something wrong. Hello.
Mm-hmm. And so like those are just things to talk about. Things have a smell, period. Like it's not just
Mhm.
about the fact that I mean you may not like it, and that's okay. I'm not telling
Right.
nobody they got to like it. I'm just saying don't judge me because I do.
Right,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Exactly. And allow me to make the choice to do just like you made the choice to take 3 shots. I'm making a choice to take 3 pulls. It's the
Right,
same thing, player. It's the
right,
same thing.
right.
The fuck. It's the
So
same thing.
and then the other part is around like business development in the space. So I mean, we don't have a lot of nurses, cannabis nurses out here. So like
Definitely.
how do we position ourselves, right? Like how do we make
Right.
ourselves valuable? How do we, do we even recognize that this is a holistic practice, right? Because
Right.
people see me as a cannabis nurse and have known me for a long time as a cannabis nurse, but really this is a holistic practice. The way we engage with plant medicine, the way that we engage with other herbs, the way that we engage with fungi, the way that we engage with all things that come from the earth. And I don't care what you built relationship. It could be the ocean, it could be the river, it could be the cemetery dirt in your yard, right? Like you build relationship with the energy of the earthly substance. And so like are we even taking the time to be mindful about that fact when we're dealing with
Exactly.
patients? Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a good thing too, that I feel is definitely a part of, the what's going on with cannabis, that, what I mean, a lot of different avenues, a lot of different, you know, ways to express yourself with cannabis have come out. Cause like, when I go to like cannabis events, I definitely, of course, we have an array of dispensaries and rolling papers, but then we have people that do like hotels where you can come and have like a rejuvenating experience, and it involves cannabis. We have, I definitely have met people that do, like you said, yoga, and have yoga classes that involve cannabis. And then there's a spot that I love to go to, and even though I don't really hang out there too many times because it gets so crowded in there, it feels like a club. But it's a place called Work and Roll, and they're literally a workspace that if you work from home, you can actually rent the space so that you can work
So,
there
yeah,
and
that's dope.
smoke while you're working there. And they throw a lot of events, but the events get so packed because they're so popular. And it's like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of times I got there and was like, yeah, there's too many people in here. I gotta go home.
Yeah.
I gotta get out of here. I can't do this. I can't do this. You know what I mean? But it mentioned in those things as a lot of different avenues. So how's it been going since you started this journey as a cannabis nurse? Like, has it been more accepted, or are you getting any pushback from any entity or people?
So when I first started, I did. A lot of people couldn't understand like what I was doing. Like they just couldn't
Mhm,
understand. It
mhm.
didn't make any sense. And I mean, at this point, whether you care enough to know more about what I do, most of them just pretend like they don't know, and that's fine. Um, I don't care.
Damn. Just pretend like, oh yeah, she got a job. We don't know what it is,
You
but
don't know what she's doing over there.
we don't know what she do, but she pay her bills. It's okay.
That's pretty much how I go. But then and then there's people who just come. They just gravitate. They know that there's something that is wrong about what they know. Well, let me rephrase it. Like not necessarily wrong with what they know, but maybe they haven't been told the whole truth about something, right?
Right.
And so like I trust that the right people is going to come to me. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so and I've taken that approach. So I've gone through many iterations of my approach and how I work with patients, what I do with not patients, clients, and how I support and serve my community.
Mhm.
Right now I'm in a place where like my hustle game is weak, honestly. So I ain't out in these streets like I used to be.
And everything happens for a reason. You know what I'm
But
saying?
it,
Maybe that's, you know what I mean. Your protectors around you are telling you, no, chill out, like take it
Mhm.
easy. What's going
Yes,
on? Take
yes.
it easy.
And the right people will come, because I've had experiences where I was working with people that weren't really a good fit for my style. You know what I mean? My style of coaching, my style of education, my style of
Mm,
informing, right? And I'm at a place now where like I have frameworks. You know what I mean? Like I'm like you
nice.
can or you can. Like it's up to you. Like you want
Right,
it to work or you don't, right? And you have to
right.
be interested, you have to be invested. And like that's just generally my approach. So if you know about me, if you follow me, if you reach out to me, you got a question for me, we'll figure it out, we'll answer it. How can I best serve, right? um
Hmm.
and if there's a point where like I have some sort of opportunity, information, sir, I'm happy to share that with you. For me, it's about building community right now. Like letting other people
Definitely.
know that there are more people like myself out here, and especially people of color. One of the girls that's in our community just got paid to speak in Nebraska about cannabis. Like,
Nice.
what? Are we kidding? So, those things are happening. And, I think the other part of the conversation is being able to look at cannabis as a medicine. So, taking
Word.
out some of the, like, while I appreciate some of the cultural aspects of it, the world ain't gonna understand the culture, and I ain't trying to make them understand the culture, right?
Hmm.
But I need y'all to see this as a medicine, and so bringing that professional approach and that a professional appeal to the conversation, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I might want to smoke some weed when we done, but in the moment, let's discuss this. Let's talk about the science. Let's talk about the implications. Let's go to talk about the outcomes when it comes to patient care, as a result of implementing
Hmm.
treatment, right? And so bringing some of that language into the conversation so that way it's more respected. That stigma kind of melts away because now they can trust me as the healthcare professional that I am. And
Exactly.
other healthcare professionals and healers be able to do the same thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Now I want to talk about your book because I didn't realize you wrote a book. So yeah, is it just one book or
I got
what?
two
Let's talk
books.
about that.
I got two
Oh
books.
yes, let's get into those.
So, it's Asa's Medicine. That's a children's book.
Mm,
And so in I think it was 22, I was asked to help support the guidelines, to develop the guidelines for Maryland schools. So in Maryland, they're actually allowed to, their healthcare providers and nurses are allowed to administer cannabis to children who are in the medical program. And so,
nice. Okay.
and so a bill was passed, and I was asked to be on this guidelines committee, and I helped, curate the guidelines. It's still there to this day. And
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, it was so cool. And it was an interesting experience for a lot of reasons. I won't go into the nitty-gritty of it all, but at the end of everything, like, yeah, the guidelines were well designed and drafted, and they covered all the bases and all the things. But in my mind, like, there was a part two. Like, now how
Mhm.
do we implement this? Like, what does this look like in the school? Like, how are children being informed about this? Like, and,
Right.
and all kids don't need to necessarily know all the nitty gritty, but they need to know not to, like, you know, talk badly about it because maybe they heard their mom say something or their dad or whatever,
Yeah, definitely.
you know. And then your teachers need to be supportive, right? And then also the nurses in these schools need to be educated and informed about the endocannabinoid system, what they're administering, like the effects, all those kind of things. And so that's what Asa's medicine is about. It's about a little boy. His name is Asa. He's a child in school. So, one of the kids bring it up, and they're like, "Hey, you're doing drugs or whatever." And Asa's like, no, like, and he goes to the nurse, and her name's Nurse Ashley, comes and educates the class. And they realize like he's no different than, a diabetic kid. And what was
Mm-hmm.
interesting when I wrote that book, I let a child that has diabetes read it, and she was so like thankful to be even mentioned in a book because she felt like a sick kid. And
Right.
so she resonated with Asa, not because she was a child who used cannabis for her condition, but
Mm-hmm.
because kids are sick in school and they are different and they need to be treated differently. So they see the world differently and often don't feel a
Right.
part of. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's where that book came from. I'm very like thankful that that even exists in the world.
Definitely.
Somebody recently reached out to me. It was like, I seen Asa's medicine. It was at the Patient Out of Time conference. I'm like, I don't even know how I got there.
But that's what's up though. That's what's up. And I love the concept. And again, it's about giving spreading the right education, because hello, even when we were kids, our parents would definitely would be telling us, don't be listening to your
Yeah,
little stinky ass friends, because your
yeah,
stinky ass friends don't even know what the fuck they talking about. They don't
yeah,
even know how to wash their ass right. How they
right,
gonna tell you, son? You know what I
right,
mean? And
right.
you know what I mean? Yes, while we were teenagers, we thought of it as our parents kind of, throwing shade to our friends. But at the same time, we also learned that, yeah, our friends were dumb as fuck and we were dumb as fuck too. So therefore, neither one of us knew anything. So and only as we grew, we learned and we realized, what was right and what was wrong. So, having, a book representing, that type of John, at least that level of children, and and the children, and making it in their language that they can understand, that's what I call a win, motherfucking win. Yes, indeed. And yes, it does introduce, it also educationally introduces, the educational system into things like cannabis. And so shout out to Maryland system for even doing that, because they probably one in few, because nowhere else have I even heard of that, much less, what I mean? But it is something that definitely should be a part of the educational system, because like you said, there are children that are, diabetic. There are children that have, peanut allergies and whatnot, and all kind of stuff going on. So if I have is something going on in my system and cannabis handles it, then it's good that as a child I'm around, adults that are very much aware and not treating me any different, and allowing me to have my medicine and not making me feel like a drug addict. Because
Yeah.
again, it also goes back to as adults, that we shouldn't be looking at marijuana as a drug. Or making, people that intake, however they intake, drug addicts. Like no, that stigma is the main stigma to me. It's the main stigma that really needs to get destroyed. It needs to go down. It needs to be crushed and buried. You know what I mean? So I feel like in your line of work, you definitely are, or I'm hoping, what I'm asking actually, if you were getting, a lot of, people with the olden days type of thoughts of marijuana, that you got to kind of fight through in order to get them to our, 25th, 2025, and where we at with weed.
Yeah, like I said, I don't really, if you're not ready for it, you're not ready for it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that's just really my approach to it. But if you are, like it does take a lot of like psychological kind of coaching to kind of get them
Mhm.
to really understand like this is what we
High storm in the building. Motherhood sex marijuana. Rolling papers in the building. Motherhood sex marijuana. Merch in the building. If you're here, we thank you and we most certainly appreciate you. But we want you to spread the word, tell a friend, subscribe, make sure and get yourself some rolling papers. And of course, if you want to sponsor an episode, if you want to be on an episode, if you have products you want to show us that we want to show the people, come through. You feel me? Motherhood, sex, marijuana, rolling papers, merch, YouTube, subscribe, fight all the algorithms, and let us get in. Yeah.
Be doing this is how I can work. Like, no, 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 not the whole joint.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Although I know you want to smoke the whole joint, I would too. I promise you. I don't even. I be true. I fight with myself when I clip a joint. But go ahead. But if it helps, if this is what you're supposed to do to help yourself, just follow instructions. Follow instructions.
But no, I'm joking. But just trying to help them get comfortable with the fact that this is like not just this is what we're doing, but this is what we're doing and why we're doing it, right?
Right.
And so creating the mindfulness around it and like helping them to overcome whatever like personal fears they have in their mind, like because back in their day, whatever that was, like in the 70s or 80s, it was a war on drugs, that
Exactly.
kind of stuff. Like they were real adults, like really brainwashed into that ideology. That's one campaign. Like I don't if you can't sell nothing, that work. Like we
Right.
try
Right.
to get for some
Exactly.
other stuff, not this. Like y'all is tripping. But you know helping them get over some of those things because it is a template in their mindset where like it just is what it is. They only see it as a drug. But what's interesting is that cannabis is actually the largest, I mean, older adults are the largest growing population of cannabis consumers.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they opt out of smoking and they prefer using like the gummies and transdermal patches and things like that, which is good for them because they get the long acting effect. Most of the time it's for pain, or just better quality of life. Like their life is just miserable because they're experiencing whatever chronic conditions and they're like, I just want to, wake up and,
Chill out.
you know what I mean, and chill. And so being able to have those things available to them, especially at the end of life and especially if you're not in your like not going to work and things like that,
Yeah.
balls to the wall, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
do your thing. Because I feel like you get one life. I'm also a hospice nurse, so I've seen the end of life more times than I'd like to count. And we all go to the same place. The experiences are all the same, right? Like,
Facts.
and so whether you have money, whether you don't have money, whether you black, whether you're white, whether you, if you're getting to the point where your body is starting to shut down, like why not consider cannabis to help you support your transition?
Word. Word. Yeah, I definitely want to give you a chance to. Ooh, oops. I definitely want to give you a chance to talk about your second book because you
Oh,
said it's called Stigmatized, right?
yes, yes. So, yeah, so I wrote that one. Honestly, it shows up as a memoir. In in
Okay.
many ways, yeah, it talks a lot about like my evolution, and it frames it in a way where it lets you know that you also are human. You also are going through some things. I used. Are you familiar with the tarot?
No, what's
Oh,
that?
okay. Like oracle cards, like tarot cards
Oh,
and
okay. Oh, tarot cards, you said.
yeah.
Okay, yes. All
Yes.
right, yes, definitely.
So I use the major arcana to help describe some of the describe the chapters and contextualize the major arcana so that way other people can use them and interpret it for themselves. So even though it's my memoir, so to speak, the way that it's written, anybody can relate to it because we're talking about like just issues around motherhood, right? Like just issues around finding balance, issues around loss and grief, right? All of those kind of things. I have postpartum depression. So, and all of these concepts, all of the ones that I brought up at least, are highly stigmatized concepts, especially when you're a Black woman. And so,
Mhm.
like, to be experiencing postpartum depression or to be experiencing grief or to be experiencing any type of loss or hardship, as soon as you're not up to snuff, as soon as you're not, emotionally intelligent, you get angry, you get whatever, which all of these things are part of the cycle of, what these issues when they come up.
Right.
And oftentimes we're highly stigmatized behind it. So it ends up kind of comparing my time entering into the cannabis industry, and it has a full circle moment where it talks about like some of the awards that I won and things like that. But as you're going
Mm.
through the story, like you'd be like, oh yeah, I felt that way too, or I know exactly what that is like. And a lot of times people walk away with feeling really just empowered about whatever it is they're trying to do.
And that's good. And that it really is good, honestly, because my favorite books are always books that speak to real life. Like I want to feel like the character, even if it says fictitious or fiction, I want to feel like the story actually happened. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That's how I'm able to enjoy it. Because as I'm, reading it, the words are going in my head, and I'm looking, and I feel like I could see it, and in my head, it definitely has happened. Therefore, I'm able to enjoy it, get all into it. And when it's a story to, uplift and, I mean, to, make you, go through certain, tough times in your life, and you're able to overcome stuff like that. That is definitely inspiring. So thank you for definitely for doing that. That's something that I'm hoping. Are these just ebooks, or are
They're
these
on
hard
Amazon.
books?
They're on Amazon. Yeah, you can get
Okay.
them on Amazon. It's stigmatized a hero's journey, and you can literally just search my name, Ashley Wynn-Grimes. And I mean, if you go on Amazon and do it, you'll get the two books. If you do it on Google, I've done a million podcasts, and like you can see the evolution of Ashley if you wanted to. It's so much information on the internet, just by doing a search.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
now, see, I love saying that too. Like, I love being able to say, yes, Google me, because you'll be able to find everything I do and what I do and
Yeah.
what I'm not doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You know what I mean? So, but wait now. So, you're a mother. Let's talk about that. How many kids do we have?
I have two kids. I have a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Oh, so we don't have nobody grown yet. And
No.
okay, so the 15 and the 15 and the 10-year-old, how are we approaching cannabis with them?
Well, it is just a medicine, right? Like just
Hmm.
like everything else is. And so we have open dialogue about cannabis being medicine for some people. We talk a lot about the fact that the kids at school may be misusing it around you. That does not
Hmm.
mean that you need to misuse it. You're healthy, you're well. If you feel like you have anxiety coming up for you, if like she borders it a little bit, my oldest one in the ADHD spectrum, like if that's
Oh.
becoming not like manageable with what we're doing, like talk
Hmm.
to me first before we like start to make any personal decisions about self-medicating. Um, and that's just really the conversation. The older one, what has been conscious long enough to see the evolution of me through the cannabis. So, like, when I wrote Ace's Medicine, my oldest daughter actually was the voice on the trailer.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. And so, it sparked a lot of conversation. The younger one is a little less in tune with what it is that I do, but she's 10, so it hasn't been that big a deal. But, as they start to become interested, as they have questions, like I answer questions. And I'm like that about all topics. It's not just cannabis. I talk about
Hmm.
sex in the same way. Like for me, like I'd rather you be equipped with information. You may not know what to do with that information
Facts.
initially, but I'd rather you have that in your cognitive space so that way you can attach to it and ask a question or know when to say no, right?
Exactly. And
Because
to ask, and then the fact that they got the information from their mother.
mhm,
Yes, let's also focus on that.
mhm,
They got the information in house, therefore whatever they learn out of the house, they can compare and contrast and be able to say that's not true. My mama told me different, and whatever the fuck you saying is bullshit. Fuck
Mm-hmm.
out of here. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, and I think that's so important to do, at least in my opinion, and I'm not an expert in raising children. My children are not grown yet, but I know from my experience as a young person coming up, and I know that a lot of Black people share this experience, is that, nobody was talking to you about nothing.
Right.
And so you had no other choice but to go and wander around and ask Joe Schmo about how to do this or what to do with that or when to do this,
Mhm.
and it's like, so you kind of force young people to have to go out to people who don't care about them, right? Find themselves in precocious situations because of their naivete, and then be wondering why they're in that terrible situation and be mad because they found themselves in that situation. But really, it could have all been avoided had
If
there
you
been
had just kept it
conversation.
real.
Right.
If you had just kept it real. We definitely discuss that on the podcast on a regular basis because I have three children myself. My oldest is 27. The middle child is 16. The youngest is 10. So all girls just like you.
Gosh.
And with my oldest, it was always, because it was just me and her. Like for a long time, it was just me and her. And I would be, living in like small spaces. Like I wouldn't have a one bedroom. I would have like a studio or like a kitchenette and whatnot. And it's like, girl, you just sit over there and watch TV. Yeah, mommy's over here. Yeah, it's cloudy over here. Don't worry about what mommy doing. Mommy cloudy over here. You sit over there and watch TV. And it's so funny because it's like on one level you might be like, oh, that's kind of crazy that you spoke in the same room, but it's like, child, that's the only rent I could afford was the kitchenette. So yeah, as long as I could see her, that means she's safe, right? And I'm in the same room with her. If something happened to her, it's gonna happen to me too, right? Okay, then what's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the
Right.
problem? You know what I mean? And one of the things I would always do with my kids is absolutely, because even like I said, even with her, when it was just me and her, I always kept it very real with her. Like I didn't even understand, just putting on filters to talk about shit, because it was like like I said, we were always in a small space until, what I mean, until I started doing better. It was just me and her, and it would be in a small space. So it's like she would see, struggle. She would see, if I was hurt or if I, if I was going through anything, she would be right there. So it didn't seem like a bad thing to be like, explain what's wrong. Like, yeah, I'm in a situation, I'm feeling some type of way. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like a problem to me to have a grown conversation with my child and just give it to her on the real from whatever perspective, no matter what I was talking about. Never mind. My grown child right now is as much as a pothead as me, and it was almost prophesized that she was a pothead, because I could tell you one time when she was about 3 years old, it was me and my two best friends, and we were in my little studio apartment, and we were blowing it down. And I happened to have the blunt in my hand, and I was famous for, holding the blunt too long. So as one of my friends said, go ahead and pass that blunt because you holding it too long. Here come my 3-year-old picking up a whole half an ounce that was sitting on the bed, picking it up and handing it to my friend, and was like, is this what you talking about? And literally my friend looked at her and said, your daughter gonna be a pothead. You see this right here? We ain't even talking to her. She know we not talking to her, but she involving herself. You see this? And child, it was prophesized, because she is 27 years old and she smokes just about as me, if not more. If not more. I don't smoke with her or anything of that nature, but you know what I'm saying? I do know she is very much a pothead. You know what I mean? So
So funny.
yeah, totally. You know what I mean? So by telling that story, I wanted to go ahead and ask you the question now. as your kids are young, they're 10, 15, but let's say, we 23. We 23, we live in our best life. We go places, we got, significant others, whatever, however relationship go, you know, and we just happen to, and mama comes to visit. Mama goes to said child's house, and house smelling kind of pretty all of a sudden.
Not
Smell
mine.
pretty in here. What, how do we dive into that situation? How would we go into that situation?
I don't know. I hope that, okay, so I hope that I don't walk over there and I'm surprised, right? Like that, I don't want that to happen and I'm surprised by it. Like, I'm like, oh, I had no idea. Like, I don't want that to be the situation. You know what I mean? Like, I would much more prefer, like, we know what we're dealing with when we're dealing with each other.
Mm,
I envision myself being, I have this vision of myself. Like I know it's kind of weird, but like I just want to be kind of sitting in the corner watching the kids have a good time, just being old, just sitting there, just like, y'all having fun? Y'all having a good time over there? And I just watch them, because I used to do like game nights with friends and stuff like that. And I had
mhm.
a friend whose mom would like just kind of sit there, and she wasn't supposed to be smoking because she had just had a lung transplant or whatever.
Ooh,
But it was just before she was gonna pass away, and she would always ask to hit the joint. And so I'd be like, all right, you can. And she'd be like, thank you so much. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And she died very shortly after. She very much had like accepted the fact that she was eventually going to pass away, and so she
Mhm,
really found great joy in just being with us and like hanging out with us while we was acting a fool and doing our thing and whatever. So
mhm,
I want that for myself. Like I just want to sit there and watch the young people have a good time.
mhm.
I mean, like y'all pass it to me if you want to. You slide it over to the side, then y'all do your thing. And so like that's my vision. So I don't know, we'll see how things evolve. We can't
Exactly.
really tell the future when it comes to your kids, but like when your kids get to be adults, they're going to do what adults do. And I
Hello.
like a lot of times us as parents, we want to keep them kids as long as possible, but and I get why sometimes I do too, but at the end of the day, like they're going to experience life.
Mhm.
And I just want their life to not be difficult. I want them to experience abundance. I want them to experience pleasure. I want them to experience
Facts.
happiness. I want them to experience everything that they can have access to, you know, in a way that serves them, in a way that is balanced, in a way that creates expansion and just makes
Mhm.
them feel good as human beings. You know what I mean? Like that's the vision. And if anything is going anything other than that, then that's when I'd have a problem.
Basically, yes. Thank you for saying that. Definitely. Yeah, because I can't say that I've, watched my daughter intake, but for me, how I found out that she was intaking was I walked into her bedroom. I said by that time she was 18. I mean, she, what I'm saying, she didn't move out to like about 19, 20. But by the time she was 18, and I walked into her bedroom like, early in the morning, and her bedroom was more pioneer than mine. And immediately it made me want to say, girl, where you get that weed from? Gosh. No, because maybe we can exchange who the fuck. All right, because it's smelling really good in here. I mean, I'm just saying, it smells good. It smells good. Okay, okay. Yeah, but yes, yes, definitely. But yes, definitely. I want to go ahead and go ahead and go ahead and end the show right here, and what I mean, take you give you the last 5 minutes to say say anything you want to say, and of course, promote your book, promote your social media, all of that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So first of all, thank you. This was a great conversation. I had a
Oh
lot of
my God,
fun
thank you for
chatting
being
with
here, of
you.
course.
And I don't think I have too much more to say as far as like I don't know any specific topics unless you have questions. But you can find me on Instagram. I'm very accessible on Instagram. I'm your holistic concierge RN. It's YOUR holistic
Mhm.
HOLISTIC concierge CONCIERGE, and then it's RN. And so again, you can just type my name, Ashley Wynn-Grimes, and I come up. You can Google me. You'll find my Instagram. I'm very active on there. And then my books are on Amazon. It's Aces Medicine and Stigmatized: A Hero's Journey. And then if you want to go to my website, you can. It's lesriignite.com. Resources, information can be found there. And that's it.
And I'll definitely include all that information in the description when we drop this episode. This episode will drop on YouTube in about 2 to 3 weeks. I'll make sure to send you the link, of course. And shit, girl, now that you're part of the show, I'm gonna tell you right now, you are family. Anything going on with you, anything that you got going on, that you're doing a show, you're doing this, do you want to promote it? You come right along, you come back, hit me up, and we can set up a time to schedule you up and get the promotion going. Because once you are a motherhood sex marijuana guest, you are automatically family. You know what I mean? Appreciate you. Definitely. Thank you for your time. And of course, like I said, Motherhood Sex Marijuana will be dropping this episode in about 2 weeks. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Of course, spread the word, tell a friend. And of course, shit, get some rolling papers. Definitely buy our merch. And every time I drop a video, I make sure and tell people, yes, follow every single person that we interview. Make sure you follow them. If they got a book, if they got a product, hit them up, purchase it, because hello, that's how all of us will come up in this business. Okay? Yes, indeed, honey. Thank you so much for being on the show. And on that note, motherhood, sex, marijuana in the motherfucking building. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Ashley. We appreciate you big time.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. I'll talk to you soon.
All right now. Bye-bye.
Bye.